Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to go into a little bit more in depth on the psychopathic trait of sort of mind control and that of really just sort of the gaslighting, just to I discussed that a little bit more in depth because they feel very uncomfortable and they feel that they've experienced this, so they want just some more examples. When we talk about someone who is psychopathic and just sort of their mind control, their deliberate and pre-calculated approach to relationships that's designed to throw you off, to lead you in really a sort of a disoriented direction where you don't really feel like yourself. You feel foreign to yourself. You don't recognize yourself. You don't feel good. You don't feel that you are sort of immersed in your own values. This sort of feeling of dysphoria or dissociation can come as a result of being in a relationship and communicating sort of excessively with someone who is psychopathic. When we're talking about someone who is psychopathic, they don't have the same mental structures, the same sort of processes and neurochemistry that really the rest of society is. Whether it's 1% of the population, 4%, somewhere in there, it's not really widely known. But one of the aspects of a psychopath is that they are devoid of conscience, meaning morality, right or wrong. They lack empathy or feeling or compassion for others, the ability to sort of connect with the emotions, the feelings, and experiences of another, and being able to relate. So they don't relate. They have an attachment issue. They don't attach to other people. They don't bond to others. So instead of this, they really seek to have control over others. So really insidious control over others. Not just, let's do some jumping jacks. I want to be a fitness leader, and let me help you get to your next fitness level. We're talking about really having control. It gives them a sense of power. It gives them a sense of feeling of being mighty, something that is rewarding for them, a feeling of satisfaction, to control others, their behavior, when they laugh, how they dress, how they speak, what they pay attention to, what they focus on, how they communicate, how they don't communicate, what they pursue, what they don't pursue, how they feel about themselves or how they don't feel about themselves. And really, there is a change of sort of communication style, I would say, when you're in the relationship with a psychopath. So how you will communicate will change, and it will be reflective of this sort of mind game and brainwashing, which is really kind of creating a psychological injury, if you will, just sort of a psychological injury, like a wound. And so it can be very painful, very sore. And so these mind games, and which, so the the feeling of the brain, and sort of the mind control, the brainwashing and gaslighting is really a very deep disbelief in self is what they're really sort of going for. In other words, getting you confused about what you said, getting you confused about intentions, getting confused about your desires, getting confused about who you are and what you want, and mainly getting confused about your intentions. I mean, we're talking about, something that is very intangible, your desire. So, for example, you might be there listening and having them focused, you're focused on them 100%. You're completely emotionally available, you're present, you're listening, you're following along, and then they tell you, you're not listening to me. And, when you've done nothing but listen to them. So it's just these sort of very pointed, targeted comments that oftentimes then are designed to kind of create this dysphoria, dissociation, and sort of the psychological injury, if you will, where it, it'll take you aback, but it'll come with such passion. It'll come with such divisive intent. It'll be delivered in such a way and intensity. It'll be delivered with so much intensity that a lot of people energetically don't feel that they have the ability to sort it out, particularly not only in that moment, but especially when it chronically continues. A lot of people don't have a sort of the ability to tap within to their own resource of sanity and saying, okay, I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to try to straighten out this sort of lie or projection, otherwise known as false accusations, that they believe to be true and want to project and inflict this sort of wound onto you because of the degree of intensity that it can be emotionally overwhelming. So the emotional overwhelm can set you in such a state of shock that you can't sort of stay grounded. You can't stay centered. You can't stay present in your truth and living in that space, if that makes any sense. It's very difficult to describe it, but I think this is important for you to understand the cause that creates this effect and how these people sort of will either pull one over or be very disorienting in their communication and will sort of take your happiness and your self-control down several notches, oftentimes because of this brainwashing or gaslighting, meaning causing you to doubt your sense of reality, namely doubt your sense of yourself, which sounds very strange. How could this be? But these people are master manipulators, master controllers. You can say that's mean, cruel, cold, insensitive, wrong. I mean, it can be all these things. Illegal. A lot of people say it's criminal. They should not get away with this. And so it's to cause you disbelief in self. In other words, it's to give you just sort of not only the mind games, but really sort of a mind disorientation, if you will. You might feel broken, feel that you're severed in half. Feel a stranger unto yourself. This is just some of the notes that I was taking. And causing you to feel sort of twisted internally, almost as if you had a mind muscle, as if, you've ever had a Charlie horse in your leg or a pulled muscle or a sprain. It can feel like that way psychologically, like you've just had a psychological Charlie horse. It's just all of a sudden it just clenches up. That can happen internally, and it can feel very palpable. And it feels that it's very palpable, meaning you feel that they're almost trying to ruin you, destroy you, cause you hurt, cause you dismay, cause you permanent, this sort of a permanent damage is really the severe thing. And it can be, an obscene amount of intensity. In other words, as we've described here, an intensity that is not appropriate for the situation. In other words, you drop something and they're off the rails. The reaction does not warrant the situation is what we're talking about, where someone's, their intensity is too much. And it's too much to have a discussion with. You can't have a normal, conversation with these people. And so what then happens is the injury oftentimes results, especially for the unknowing or the indoctrinated, the unchristened. So in other words, you might have not experienced this before. A lot of people then sort of surrender to them. They surrender to that intensity. They surrender because they don't know how to cope, how to deal. They don't have a solution, a go-to mechanism to protect themselves. And so the gaslighting is where it's getting you confused about what you've done. Even though you might have been very loyal, very committed, very passionate for this person, then they'll flip that around. You're not passionate, that was just, this. You don't really love me, they'll confuse your motives. They'll have you to doubt your own motives when you know your own motives. But because of their insidiousness, and then they're sort of projecting of false accusations, cause people to doubt themselves. And then they have difficulty sort of owning and getting centered again. So then they begin to sort of, give you a command, which is designed, which is not, in other words, you don't know your intentions. In other words, it's very insidious, but as if you're going through the devalue and discard, they're trying to tell you, well, you didn't love me anyway, or you didn't do this. And then it's like that never even happened. But they're stating it in such a way and so accusatory that they make you feel guilty, even though you are not guilty of that false accusation. So there's a feeling of guilt. People call this the guilt trip. I mean, it's been done by a lot of religions, etc. And it can be very offensive. So rather than being empowered and saying, you know what, that's really offensive, what you just said, not being able to fight back for yourself or sort of stand your ground, a lot of people end up giving up their ground to this person. And then they feel that they have nowhere to stand on, no legs to stand on. And so it can feel very much like they're sort of annihilating your reality, annihilating your truth, annihilating your positive, pure intention, who you really are. Your purity, your desire for what you wanted in the relationship. So that innocence, if you will, they will try to rob you particularly of that, because that's your truth. When you really kind of look down to it, for a lot of people, they know their truth and their intentions in the relationship and what they wanted and work for, but that can just be completely wiped out when you are the gaslighting or brainwashing is going on. And you'll feel that, you don't really own your past anymore. You don't own the present, and so that it can feel that it's difficult to own the future. You might even just feel that, it's not worthy of being a productive member of society anymore. You might just want to give up on everything. Just sort of like a then the desire to sort of want to fight back and then get yourself into trouble. Excuse me. So, otherwise known as like sort of scorching the earth. I think there was a topic in a book back in the day when you would sort of burned your bridges. They're trying to cause you to burn the bridges and then make it all your fault. So they, are just off the hook. They're doing this with their hands. It's not me. And the next thing they're gonna do is say, you were a terrible this, you were a terrible that. They're complaining about you, and then next thing you know, you're just in this whole whirlwind. That is gaslighting. It's very insidious. And number one, you need to understand that it is a manipulation tactic causing you to doubt yourself, doubt your reality, doubt your intentions. So you need to take back your power. You need to take back your truth. You need to take back your reality. You need to take back your desires. You need to take back your innocence. You need to take back your intention and your drive and your desire. And you need to be able to pass through this energetically. Not just saying move on, but being able to reestablish your flow. Not getting snagged or caught up in this, so that you're not continually being taken advantage of, marching to someone else's drum, marching to someone else's falsity, marching to someone else's false accusations, marching to someone else's establishment of feeling that you should be ashamed of yourself for something that you are not guilty of. So it's like a flinging of a projection of false accusations. And oftentimes they don't give you the opportunity to have a discussion. Their didactic is wrought with such intensity that they don't give you an ability to have a discussion. It would not be open for discussion. And so, in other words, really to cause you that is part of that just sort of emotional terror. It does feel like a wound. It does feel like an injury. And it's just, emotional. And, it's because there's a flooding oftentimes of a number of neurochemicals, like the cortisols, the adrenals. People might get headaches, head rushes, feel disoriented. I mean, this is all normal. To sort things out. So you really do need to be able to take a step back and not own the brainwashing that they are trying to project onto you. Not own the guilt, not own the mudslinging. In other words, don't allow them to put a dark cloud over you. This is, how they manipulate. This is, they're projecting their insidious dark energy onto others. Don't take it. Don't be a receptacle. Don't be an emotional garbage can. And don't allow them to steal your joy, your happiness, your innocence, your truth, your, the world being your oyster. Don't allow them to hold you back from pursuing your joy. Realize that this is what they do. If you were to look at yourself as a whole person, you are a whole person. The brainwashing, though, will make you feel that you're half, 1/4, 1/3. You're not running on all cylinders. This will get better, but you need to understand that this is how they get you confused, disoriented, always paying attention to them, thinking about them, worrying about them, ruminating thoughts, playing it over and over again, and it's not going anywhere. These are all indicators of brainwashing and gaslighting. And it's very uncomfortable, very unpleasant. You need to understand that this is how some people fight. This is how some people have a lot of negativity. You can just boil it down. It's negative, it's heavy, it's burdensome, it's uncomfortable, it's tension, it's psychological warfare. It's all these things. Don't engage. Just say, no, thank you. No, thank you. I am not engaging. I own my innocence. I own my fortitude. I own my desires. I own my focus. I own my own importance. I own my own truth. I own my own reality. I own my own happiness, and I own my own joy. And today I will choose happiness at every moment. And when I am feeling that I'm moving off track, I will choose strength. I will choose knowing. I will choose the higher path because I do know better. And when I know better, then I have more power than the psychopath. When I do better and I think clearly, I behave better than the psychopath. I have more power over myself than this. So you need to take that back and see how you are in control, and then that it all of a sudden, with repeated exercise of this, you'll be able to be demonstrative of power over this type of person. You won't fall prey. You might have to do a lot of videos. You might have to do a lot of the discussions that we talk here, but you have to realize that they are, they're going to go for the jugular. They're going to go for the self-doubt in you. They're going to go for the fear. They're going to go for the paralyzing, confusion. They're going to, drill it in and hit it harder and harder with their intensity, and to really gaslight you and get you all twisted up once again, like that mental Charlie horse. Just know, just clear your energy out. Just know what your energy is, what your space is, know what your joy is, know what your happiness feels like, know what your innocence feels like. Get that feeling back. You really need to get those emotional states back and really reinforce those for yourself. Really, you need to do this work. You need to be deliberate and take the effort to know what these terms are, what these people do, and how it has affected you, and then how you clear the slate so you're not running under that those very insidious emotions, and being confused, disoriented, losing focus, losing perspective of what you know to be true. So that's why it's important to write things down. You've got just sort of things written out, and truth for yourself. You need to have your own sort of book of truth to know what you're working with. The book of truth for you might go on for many months or many years or maybe even several decades. But to liberate you is so important. Do not allow that brainwashing and gaslighting to be like a ball and chain. Literally get an emotional, scissors and cut it off and free yourself. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope the videos do help. Please share, subscribe, and donate for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for your viewership, and please have a beautiful day.